Randy Post called this the best handling car he's ever driven in 2014. If I were to tell you that, you'd probably think 911, but you'd be wrong. He was referring to the AMG GTS. What's up, guys? It's Clyde here, and today I want to talk about what I think is probably the best used car bargain out there. And I've been kind of obsessed with it because it's just so baffling to me that what was such a popular car, such a highly coveted car, such a car that won so many awards, is now retailing for so much less than what it was when it was new. And yeah, let's just get into it. So the AMG GTS came out in 2014, same year I got my M4, same year the 991 GT3 came out. And when it came out, it retailed at around $140,000 to $170,000, depending on options. If you get carbon ceramics, you're going to be on a higher end. If you were to get a base GT car, you would be on a lower end. Some of the trim differences, there was AMG GT and AMG GTS. Main difference being that the GTS had about 500 horsepower, whereas the GT had about 460 horsepower, give or take. But now let's fast forward. 2020 instead of 2014, so that means it's been about 6 years. The AMG GT has gone through a couple facelifts. They introduced the AMG GTC, which is a wide body, the AMG GTR, which is a more hardcore track-focused version of the car, and now the AMG GTR Pro Series Black, I think, something Pro Series, I think is what it's called, which is basically their competitor to the 991 .2 GT3 RS. Now, people love these cars from the GT all the way to the GTR Pro, but that being said, it didn't hold a candle compared to the 991, which was its huge competitor at the time. That said, it won a lot of awards. I think it was Motor Trend's favorite car, best driver's car of the year. It beat out the Carerra, the Cayman GT4 because they didn't like its gearing. And so that's saying something, it was, competing amongst its peers, and it really held its own weight. And now the crazy thing is these cars are going for almost half of their MSRP 5 years later. Let's take a look at this. I want to show you this first posting. I love Bring a Trailer. If you have the opportunity, if you're doing research on a car and you can look on Bring a Trailer, I would highly recommend it because this will give you, if the car sold through auction, you will be able to see the sold for price. Now this car, this AMG GT S, and this is an S trim, sold for $78,000 in November, which was 2 months ago, with only 3,000 miles. 3,000 miles. This is crazy. Look at this car. This car had an MSRP of $145,000, and the person, I don't know why, they only drove it 3,000 miles, and now it was sold for $78,000. Now the reason why I like seeing the sold price versus, like on a traditional website like cars.com or Cars Guru, well, they'll be like for sales price, is that the for sale price doesn't usually equate to the price that somebody paid for the car. So, if this was a listing on Car Guru, it might have been $85,000, and, that's what, the poster wanted. But in reality, nobody pays list price, right? On something that you're going to spend this much money on. You can always drive a bargain. And with used cars, people can get 15% off the bat. So Bring a Trailer will give you the accurate price of what the car was sold for, and it gives you a real feel for the market. But yeah, this is impressive. Look at this. It's all black. 5 years later, 6 years later, this car still looks good as ever. You don't see these driving around town all that often, so there's a big exclusivity factor. It feels exclusive. This car was like basically kind of compared like in a round of supercars. Like people would put these next to, V10 Audi R8s or Lamborghini, I think it was Gallardos at the time. I don't think the Huracan was out yet. But this, you know, this was to some people an exotic car. And it's selling for $78,000. Basically the price of an M4 with a couple options. I would say now, between the S and the GTS, if you get a GT car, yes, it's the same engine, so you can get a tune and you can get a lot of horsepower. But I think there are some key advantages to getting the S over the standard car. And one of the big advantages really is the mechanical differential that comes with the S variant. I love the way differentials feel. I think it improves the driving characteristics of a car a lot. So, you know, if I was in the market, I would consider, you know, I would lean a lot more towards the S than a GT. But that being said, like, these things aren't done dropping. Oh, it looks like one of the cars that I had was, you know, did sell. So maybe they are starting to move, huh? But hey, this one is still out there. And the thing is that there's going to be more of these coming. And I honestly think that this price here is only going to keep going down for a couple reasons. One, Mercedes is making more of these cars. They're making AMG GTSs, they're making AMG GTC, they're making AMG GTRs. Two, I think the clientele, I think the person that buys these cars new, now not trying to profile or anything like that, but the average AMG GT owner I've seen tends to be kind of an older gentleman, you know, kind of a more retired person, you know, that's kind of living their life out, and you know, that wants something fun that looks nice, and to them it might not be as high of a price tag, but you know, they're not putting as many miles on the car because to them it's a weekend car. They're not going to daily drive it. And so I think that's why you see some examples with only 3,000 miles on them. And so they're not going to drive the car that much. They're going to take really good care of it. And, you know, eventually they'll end up selling it. And that's when, you know, a guy like me will come in, hopefully. And then the other thing is that I also think that the market is going to force this price, the price of this car to drop even more. One of the cars that I do have in mind that will, you know, kind of be competing with this will be the upcoming C8. Now, you know, like this looks like a really good bargain, but, you know, in a couple months, Chevy is going to be dropping their C8 Corvette, and that's going to be mid-engine V8, you know, great horsepower output. And that's going to be basically about $75,000, you know, for a brand new C8. And so, you know, when you compare that to kind of an AMG GT, that makes it a little bit harder because those are, you know, two real sports cars, and, you know, the C8 might even offer more performance than the AMG GTS. But I don't know, man. It is hard to say. I've been watching a lot of videos on the AMG GTS, did a little bit of my research. I mean, a tune alone on this car gets you 100 horsepower, just 100 horsepower. And if you add a downpipe, these things sound incredible. Do yourself a favor and watch some videos of these cars with tune and exhaust, and I mean, they sound amazing. I know Paul from Supercars of London had one. Yeah, I'll try to link a couple of his videos down below. But I think it's a great car, and I don't know. I hope they keep falling. I feel like, you know, we could get these, like, I could see these getting down to 60K, and especially, you know, once the other newer cars start to come out, I could see it happening, and I kind of wouldn't mind picking one up. And I've been a big fan of the Supra, but, you know, if you were to put, you know, compare this car versus a brand new Supra, used versus new, I don't know, it'll be a tough bargain. And yeah, its depreciation is amazing. Not to give you some comparison about, you know, why this depreciation, it really is so strong. Like I mentioned earlier, the comparator to this car was the 911 GTS. And so now if we look at used 911 Carreras, not 911 GTSs, these are still going for high 8. Like a 2016, here we go, 2016 Carerra GTS, 87,000 with 30,000 miles on it. So that's, you know, that's substantially higher than, you know, than what an AMG GT is going for. Like we just had one, right? So 87,000 for a 911 GTS, and then same year Mercedes-AMG GT is sitting at 70 grand. So that's a 17 grand price difference for a car with a similar starting MSRP. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out on this, and who knows, man? Who knows? This would be a good fun car. This thing would exhaust with something. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Were you a fan of the AMG GTS? I feel like they aren't as popular as when they first came out. But I think I've walked into a Mercedes-Benz dealership maybe a year or two ago, and the AMG GTS was definitely the most exciting thing there. But to see them kind of falling down in price, it's pretty attractive. All right, peace. Catch you guys in the next one.